Hello my friends, this is Eric Merritt at DAZ 3D, and in this video we're going to talk about the Render Settings tab, which is in the Render Activity. Now I think I can safely make the assumption that if you come to this tab, you're interested in changing the quality or the speed at which your image renders. And the easiest way to do that, to affect that, is with this preset slider. So we've got 4 presets, and this slider just switches between them. And as you do it, a couple things change, you'll notice. This image changes out, and all this image is a sample image of what your image might be able to look like, depending on how you set up your lights, etc. But it gives you a little bit of a comparison between these different settings. You also see this change down here, which is a very short description of what those settings represent. Also, in here, what you're actually doing is changing the settings. These are just presets. So if we open up the advanced settings down here, you'll notice right now we're using the hardware assisted render. And if we switch down to there, now we're using just the preview render. So there's the hardware assist render. It just dials that up. On both 2 and 3, you're using the hardware assist render. And something I've got to tell you, I'll warn you about, when you're using a hardware assisted render, the hardware that you're using is your graphics card. Some graphics cards don't like to do certain things. My graphics card is an ATI card on my iMac, and it doesn't like rendering shadows well. So if I use one of these, I get a really ugly rendering when I have shadows turned on. And let me just show you that. Not so pretty. That's all due to the shadows, and my ATI card just doesn't handle that very well. And graphics cards will vary. Yours may do just fine, or maybe worse. But because of that, some of us can't really use these two settings. So I generally go to the top setting, which is the best quality, but it's the slowest, and that turns on the 3Delight software engine, rendering engine. And I love the quality of this one. It's great. Let me just show you this scene rendered out in that quality. Let me go to my render library. And there is my image with that 4th setting, which uses the 3Delight render engine. Nice and pretty. You've got really nice shadows, really soft. You've got your depth of field that works great, so it's blurry there, and then focused there. It's just pretty. So if you've got the option to use the other two, you can play with those and see if it gets you the quality you want and saves you some time. But for me, I've got to use that one. Alright, let's talk about these settings right in here. And then we're going to switch back and go to General Settings, so it eliminates some of the advanced stuff. And I'm going to close this little box right here just to give me some more room. And we've got the render style set for the default, but we can go in and do a cartoon shader, and I'm going to make sure this is dialed down here so that renders quickly on that cartoon shader, and let's hit render. So there you go, kind of a stylized look, and you can certainly see why it's considered a cartoon shader. It looks a little cartoony and blotchy like a cartoon would. So those are our two options, but if you had a bunch more options that you've downloaded, and they would show up right here for render styles. Alright, then we've got our dimensions. And the dimensions are just the dimensions that it's going to render. So the active viewport, when that's set to that, whatever size this is, it will render it out. Then you've got lots of different options in there. So if we want to go to widescreen, we can click on widescreen, and you notice it adjusted it a little bit, and we need to turn on this show aspect frame right here. And what that does is shows us that we are going to render a 16:9, gives that indication in this upper left corner, and then we get exactly the portion of our image that's going to be rendered, or I should say the portion of our viewport that's going to be rendered. Alright, and you'll notice as we change that, it updates, it kind of resizes it, gives us the optimal view for that, and we can always go and adjust that if we want, right? and it'll show us exactly what our final rendering is going to look like. Alright, you can also do custom. So if you want to go to custom, click right here, and then you can change this. Let's say we want it 800 by 300, some weird aspect ratio. Oh, we got to turn off the constrained proportions if we're going to do that. 800 by 300. Okay, so this really long looking thing. Now, what we can do now, if we want to save this, we want maybe to render a whole bunch of different images with this same dimension setting, you can go in and save a preset, and we'll call this 8 by 3. How's that? 8 by 3. Click OK. And now it's dumped into our presets, and it's down here at the bottom. If you want to take that out, remove it, you can go here and then select the one you want to remove and click OK, and then it's gone forever. But I kind of like that. It's kind of a neat look, and so I'll leave that in there. Now let's move down to the Render To group here. These settings, if you click on that, you'll see that you've got a couple different options. A still image of the current frame that you're on. You've got an image series, so if you've got an animation you're working on, each frame will be rendered out in a series of images. And then you've got movie, so it renders out each frame obviously, and then it compiles it into a movie at the very end. Okay, so 3 different options there. And you'll notice as I switch between those, the options down here change out. Okay, so with still image, you've got the option of rendering it to new window and an image file. So we saw this one. This is rendered to a new window. We did that earlier. And what you're going to want to do, if you want to save it, then just name it. So we'll call it cartoon test, and you can save it as a PNG, JPEG, TIFF, bump. I think the Windows machine gives you a different option. And then you can pick where you want to save it. Now, the default place that we send you is your render library. So I'm going to leave it right there in the main render library, but you can pick, I've got some different, let's put it in test renders. That's a folder I've got inside my render library. And we'll hit accept there. And I'll leave it as a PNG, and we'll save that out. Okay, now if you go to render library, we can go right in here and pick that test render folder, hit accept, and there's that rendering that I did. Alright, let's go set that back here, and let's go back to our render settings. An image file, we're going to do the same thing. It's taken the last name that I put in, which was cartoon test, and it gives it that exact same name, and it also populates it with the place I saved the last render, which is render library test renders. But I can change that here as well. I can, well, let's just do this. Let's save it somewhere else completely. If I switch to folder instead of library, then I just go over here and I pick whatever folder I want to put it in. And say I want to put it on my desktop because I want easy access to it. I choose that, and then I render it out. I don't see any preview of it, but I just got this on my desktop right here. Cartoon test render.png. So I'm going to leave that over there. That will not then show up in your render library. It doesn't show up at all. It just saves it wherever you decide to save it. Okay, so that's the difference between these two. And now, if we switch this to image series, then it understands that you have got a series of frames in an animation you want to save out, and you can just enter those here. If you want to start on frame, 23, and you just want to go to frame 29, for instance, then you just do that, and you give it a name, animation test, save it out as whatever image you want, and it'll save out from 23 to 29, those frames, into this location, and you're good to go. Alright, let's go up here and switch from image to movie. You've got the same options that you had before here with your start and end frames. Name it, instead of the PNG and the JPEG image type of options, you have a movie option. It's .movie or .mov here, and it's a .avi on the Windows machine. Same location type of save options. If you want to add a directory into your render library, you can do it here if you'd like. Hit the plus button, name it animations, and then you're saving into that directory. If you want to get rid of one, you navigate to that directory, so any one of those, and once you're in it, and you hit the minus button, you will be deleting it. And so of course it'll warn you that it's removing it permanently, which I want to do, and you're done. That covers the general settings. Now let's click down here to show the advanced settings. Alright, you get this new render engine group with a drop down that gives you 4 options for selecting a render engine. We start out with the preview render, which we showed you before, which is basically looks like a screenshot of your active viewport. Then you got hardware assist rendering, which is the one that I can't use very well because of my ATI card on my Mac. It doesn't like the shadows very well. But it gives you a couple options. This pass per light is supposed to give you more light samples and make it feel a little more realistic, although it's got its limitations. And then we go to the 3-to-light software engine. So that's a rendering solution provided by software, and there's no hardware assistance on that. And it's got tons of options, and I cannot speak intelligently at all about this one, so I won't. We'll wait for somebody much smarter than I to explain all of these options. Now if you start dialing up stuff and you do some tests and you don't like what you see, just hit the restore defaults button. It'll send everything, all those sliders, back to where they were. But it'll also send everything back to the way it was. Actually, let's just show you that. If I click this, boom, everything goes back. It's now active viewport, which changes all your settings. Here goes the still image. We were all in movie. So be wary of that when you click that, but it will reset everything to its defaults. And then the last option we have here is scripted 3-to-light. And right here, I'm assuming you're going to be able to put a script in there. I don't know much about this other than it gives you scripted access to the render pipeline. And once again, somebody smarter than I will have to explain that in another video. And that about covers it. We'll talk to you next time.